The Impact Factors E3 Special.
Alright, we're back for another day. E3 day, okay, official nomenclature here is E3 day 0, but I used that for my episode yesterday because usually my only two E3 days are E3 day 1, which is this first day of press conferences, and E3 day 2, which is the second day where you used to get Nintendo in the morning and then everything else. Official nomenclature though, today is day 0 and tomorrow is day 1 because that's when the show floor opens. But we're just going to stick with the nomenclature I have on the YouTube here. So this is day 1 of E3 for me, just because I'm not going to be going on the show floor. And what a day. I have so much to get into here, far more than I can probably get to within the time span I'm allotting for myself here. I really want to try and keep this under half an hour. So let's get into it. I really want to talk with what just happened at Sony's press conference, because that is ridiculous. But let's start. Let's go back, hop in the time machine with me, and let's go back to E3, the start of the morning, with Microsoft. Oh man. So this E3 has been great for press conferences. I'll just say this now. Now that we've seen most of them, we just have Nintendo, Square Enix, and the PC Gamer Show tomorrow. The press conferences overall have been really, really phenomenal. But let's go ahead into Microsoft. One of the things that really first stands out with Microsoft, and what I think they did a great job at, Bethesda did a great job at, and Sony did a great job at, was the press conference felt so fast. It was really bullet points of what we wanted to see. They didn't go into too in-depth. They didn't let people talk too long. There weren't any protracted demos or any stats or anything. It was game after game after game. And Microsoft really kind of set the tone for what we would see for, kind of the rest of the day. And so it was really fast and, pretty exciting. Another big takeaway here, which I'll go into going into the specifics of the press conference, is the Microsoft gap really felt like Microsoft was trying to use the Xbox One to close the gap between PC and console gaming. They showed a couple of features that really kind of work towards this idea. So think about that as I'm talking through this a little bit. And then, really, one of the big takeaways from the press conference, and really something that even now that Sony's done, there's really no answer for, is Microsoft is going to have a huge fall-winter 2015, a huge holiday 2015. It's crazy. They've got a lot of games coming out, and they're really uncontested in that release window. So let's get into it. One of the most exciting things for me first, and I think the biggest stories for Xbox period, which a lot of people might put them at the top of the charts in terms of these E3 press conferences if you were to rank them, is they announced that Xbox One is coming this holiday with backwards compatibility. They're doing an update for the Xbox One, which allows not only you to be able to download your old digital titles from your Xbox 360 onto your Xbox One, which is great, which kind of is confusing why other consoles and Xbox One up to this point didn't let you do something similar, as well as be able to read your retail 360 discs. And that's huge. Part of the reason, this is the most successful console generation of all time. The Xbox One and the PS4 are selling like gangbusters, but a lot of trepidation about moving to the next-gen console is so many games came out in this last generation, because the 360 and the PS3 generation lasted for like almost 10 years. So the games, came out in 2006, 2007. And so a lot of people have a huge backlog of games, and I personally know people, including my co-host on this podcast, Charles Fliss, who have not moved to the next generation because they have so much to play, and they don't want to have to keep two consoles plugged in, or they don't want to have all of this sunk cost where they've bought these PS3 or these 360 games and can't play them anymore if they wanted to move to a new console. And so Xbox is really acknowledging this, and they look, come, please join our ecosystem, buy the Xbox One, any of the games you still have left over on your 360, download them if they're digital onto your Xbox One, or put in the disc and you can play them. And that's a huge move. It's kind of, and really there's no response for the rest of this move. It's really going to impact the ecosystem as it moves on, as Sony increasingly is having these different hurdles for you to play your old games, like keep your PS3 plugged in, or have a PS3, to even their more elegant options, which is the on-demand rental service, the PlayStation, using their partnership to the streaming service. But that has been kind of cost prohibitive, and I heard that there's input latency, and so really, PlayStation doesn't have a great option for people who want to play their backlog catalog of games. You can't download your digital games, and you can't put your PS3 discs into the PS4. So this is huge. This is huge. Xbox, that is a big takeaway, a big victory for Xbox and for Microsoft. I've gotten to the point where I try to move and just play these kind of current-gen experiences, And so for someone who's devoted like me, it's less of a big deal, especially because I haven't been involved in the Xbox ecosystem. So even if I were to purchase the Xbox One, I wouldn't have this back catalog. But it's a great move, and I think it's going to push a lot of people who've been on the fence to buy an Xbox One. Those people who are really kind of ingrained in the Xbox infrastructure. So let's move on. There was a lot of games. One of the big ones that got me excited was Recore. So this is a surprise announcement, a new IP from Keiji Inafune, the guy behind Mega Man, and Armature. And this which Armature are a bunch of the devs who worked on Metroid Prime. And really, it's got this interesting look. You have this robot companion, this dog, and they really didn't really go into much about it, other than, it looked like there's definitely shooter elements, and it looks like there probably be some puzzle and exploration elements. I described it in some tweets as it looks maybe like it's going to be some sort of combination of a third-person shooter and a Legend of Zelda game. Certainly, the pedigree of both Inafune and the team at Armature leaves pretty much any game type available for play, but that one is really exciting. In kind of big news for me, Dark Souls 3 was officially announced at Xbox's press briefing. So we kind of had inklings that this thing was coming. There were some rumors that it was going to come. There was teases. And then a couple days before E3, there was a huge leak of information. We saw tons of screens. Some of the screens even included a release window. Turns out, of course, the work that would have had to go into faking these screens is, it pretty much at that point confirmed that's what we're going to see. And so Dark Souls 3 is out early 2016. The game looks great. Hidetaka Miyazaki's confirmed to be directing the title. I'm excited. This is 3 Souls games in 3 years, which is a lot, but they really haven't made a bad game yet. And so I'm really excited to jump in. Of course, it was announced here at Xbox, but it's going to be on PlayStation 4 as well. I'm a huge fan of the series. I've written a lot about it on my blog, theimpactfactor.blogspot.com. Check out the link below. Yeah, so I'm great. That's only good news for me. I'm excited. Then they spent some time focusing on some indies, which I really wanted to kind of give them props for. The past couple of years, this ID at Xbox program, and basically indies on Microsoft in general, I really kind of reserved to just a quick sizzle reel. They'll show you a bunch of little snippets, say these indie games are coming, and then move on. Which they did this year too. But they focused on a couple that looked great. Tacoma from Fulbright Games, the guys who made Gone Home, is coming first to console on Xbox One. That's huge. I'm really excited about Tacoma. Gone Home was great. I loved playing through that with Justine. It was such a kind of immersive, interesting experience. And Tacoma looks like more of that, but in space. Ashen looked great. It's got this kind of fantasy vibe that seems like a combination of Shadow of the Colossus and all sorts of other kind of weird, just, I don't know, ambient fantasy is the word that's coming to my mind. It's probably not the best word, but kind of this organic, ancient fantasy. And that's an Xbox exclusive. Beyond Eyes looked like this cool game where you play as a blind protagonist, but you're kind of creating this world that's just beautiful and colorful. And then Cuphead, I think, has to win the most impressive visuals of E3. The game looks like a 1930s cartoon. Like, every time they show gameplay, I'm like, is this really gameplay? Are you sure it's not just some sort of cutscene or something that you guys animated or found from the 1930s? Cuphead is insane looking. I really want to know more about that. Moving on. So, in the ways that Xbox is closing the gap on PC and console here, one of the things they're doing is introducing this new system as Xbox Games Preview. And it's essentially Steam Greenlight, but for Xbox. There's going to be these games that you can access and play early, while they're still early in development, and really kind of introduce a number of games that haven't gone through the full development and publishing cycle and getting people's hands on with them. One of the ways that this program is smart and kind of learning from the mistakes that Steam Greenlight has made is they let you have this try before you buy phase. They're allowing you to have trials of all the games that are on this program, which is really good because a lot of people could be burned. A game look cool, you spend your money on Steam Greenlight, and it turns out that it's an unfinished, buggy mess. And really, you're just kind of screwed until very recently when Valve announced that, through Steam you can get some refunds. But yeah, so it's really cool, and that's great. I mean, being able to try out games before you buy them is something that is kind of pretty desperately missing now that we've moved into this digital era of games. And playing early access really supports creators, so I'm all for this Xbox Games Preview. Just a couple more games that are coming out. They showed Tomb Raider as we expected, and Tomb Raider continues to look great. Not much to say there. It looks awesome. They still haven't really detailed what the exclusivity actually means for that, but yeah. The Rare Replay is going to be this collection coming out this fall, which is 30 classic Rare games, which is insane. Some of those classic Rare games are phenomenal, like Banjo-Kazooie. People love Battletoads. There's Perfect Dark. Looks like there's Jet Force Gemini, which is a particular favorite of mine on the N64. So if I had an Xbox One, I would absolutely buy this collection. And then there was a new Rare game called Sea of Thieves, which looked like this open world Assassin's Creed 4 mixed with basically a cartoon version of Assassin's Creed 4 with, open world and sea battles, and it looks great. There's not much to say. They didn't really show much other than it looks beautiful, it looks fun, and it's great to see Rare doing a game that's not a stupid Kinect game like Kinect Sports or something. Really let the people who are still at Rare be creative. And maybe it's better they didn't announce a new Banjo-Kazooie like I predicted, because, obviously they'd be kind of diametrically opposed to Yooka-Laylee, which was a big Kickstarter success. And then, really, what stole the show for Xbox, and man, I'm running long, is that they had this great HoloLens demo. This was the best thing of the Xbox show. They had this HoloLens demo, which is their augmented reality tech, showing Minecraft. And honestly, you just have to watch it to believe it, and look for videos online. But basically, they had Minecraft simulated on a table where you could see it like a hologram, like if you were on like the Starship Enterprise, and you could zoom in and zoom out, and it really makes me excited. I'm not a big proponent that virtual reality is the future. I think wearing a headset with headphones and putting this giant thing in front of your face and having to simulate an entire real world around you is so much work to have this kind of putting you in a different place. I'm excited for it, but I don't think everyone is going to be. I don't think it's the future of games, period. But augmented reality I could see as the future of tech, period. Being able to simulate menus and screens, and even being able to wear something like the HoloLens and browse your Twitter or look at your email seems awesome. Just have it kind of floating, kind of simulatedly in real life. But this demo was great. You have to watch it. And then there was a Gears preview at the end, but whatever. Gears has never been a series I'm interested in. The gameplay demo was pretty boring. But yeah, it looks big. They've got this backwards compatibility, this game preview, really closing the gap on PC and console. And then this holiday, they've got the Gears of War collection, Halo 5, Forza 6, Fable Legends, and Tomb Raider all coming out exclusively to Xbox One this fall. And that's going to go on uncontested in terms of exclusive games. And so Microsoft really did a great job. They didn't pull out enough surprises, and a lot of the Microsoft IPs don't really speak to me. A lot of them are kind of very bro-gamery feeling, like Gears of War and Forza, even Halo. But I'm sure the fans of those series and fans of Xbox and Microsoft in general are going to be happy. And so I graded their press conference as a B+. Just for perspective, the Bethesda one I talked about was an A- last night. That Fallout stuff was so great. So moving on, EA will be fast, because EA was terrible. It was so weird. They started strong. There was a teaser for Mass Effect 4, now renamed Mass Effect Andromeda. They don't want to keep the 4. I think people start to get a little intimidated once you have a number behind a game that's higher than 3. And it looked cool. It looked like Mass Effect, but it was just a little cinematic kind of feeling of what we might have to look forward to in Mass Effect, and nothing more than that. And then it was essentially an hour and 15 minutes of random sports games and mobile talk. And don't get me wrong, I think sports games have an absolutely important place in the games ecosystem. They're important and they're interesting, but the thing is, in showing them at E3, sports games are yearly releases. You've got to have each new year's release. And so they only have really incremental progress between year to year. And you can't make incremental progress exciting on the big stage that's E3. And so if they were to show something kind of groundbreaking with any of these techs, I think the sports game would absolutely deserve a response. But really, just seeing them there, it's not much to look at, especially as someone like myself who doesn't play sports games. And then mobile is huge. Mobile is a huge part of gaming today. And, it's something admittedly I don't know as much about. And I like that EA has taken the initiative and done some stuff in mobile, but they've done some of that really bad stuff in mobile, like all these, paywalls, discussing free-to-play practices, and all that freemium kind of stuff. But then it was just bizarre to show it, too, because the only game they showed from their mobile division is this new Minions Paradise game, which it looked like a mobile free-to-play game, I guess. And EA very much felt like the entire press conference was 100% focused on the investors and the retail partners, and not on hardcore gamers, not on games enthusiasts, and not on games media and games press. And I think it's just a strange choice for EA, because, you're not going to get the kind of coverage you want if your press conference doesn't appeal to the people who are covering it. Across the web I saw it panned, and for a good reason. It was boring, it didn't show anything new or exciting, and, did nothing for, the game enthusiasts around the world. And so, sure, they might have appealed to a certain group of people in the audience, but they really need to work on what so many other press conferences, like every single one I've seen this year, and appealing to the kind of broad spectrum. To be fair, though, ending my discussion on a little positive note, Mirror's Edge 2, again, we saw earlier, this past week or two, that it was announced as Mirror's Edge Catalyst. They showed a trailer that Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a origin story. It's Faith's origin. She's a really adorable little kid. I need to go watch that trailer again because I was, live tweeting, so I didn't get to see everything in great detail. But it looks great. There's no gunplay, which is great because gunplay was the worst part of Mirror's Edge. It was awkward and not fun. But the game looks beautiful. It looks fluid and fast and fun. And they announced that it's fully open world, no load screens. It looks great. I'm really excited for Mirror's Edge. And it comes out early next year. I mean, as we'll get into some of this, Quarter 1 2016 looks ridiculous. But I'm so excited for that. And then Star Wars Battlefront is a game that they ended the press conference with. You wouldn't have missed it. The entire press conference, they're like, please stay till the end. We're going to show Battlefront. And it looked great. I was actually a skeptic, and still am a skeptic. I'm not really in the market for competitive multiplayer online first-person shooters. But what they showed just looked fun and high-octane, and just, it looked like, it just looked fun. I had used that word twice, and I realized I should kind of get a better vocabulary here as this biomedical scientist, but it looked fun. It looked easy to pick up and play. It had, the aesthetic, the sound, the music, the vibe of Star Wars. The gameplay demo was great. It looked like chaotic, but you could understand what was going on. You got the objectives. It really felt like you're having this dramatic battle, and seeing Luke and fighting off against Darth Vader was kind of cute and whatever. So if I find myself in the market for a first-person shooter this fall, I know what I'll look towards. Star Wars Battlefront looked fun, but at this point, it's not something I'm jumping at the bit to, buy and pre-order and reserve, despite what EA thinks, it's going to be. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention Unravel. Unravel was this cute little indie game that really, the demo felt genuine. The developer came out there, his hands were shaking, he had his little yarn doll. It's a platformer, it's yarny, you move through the world, and everywhere you move, you leave your yarn behind you, and it's symbolic of life and the paths you weave, and, you can look back on where you've been, where you came from, and see this kind of confusing, convoluted path, and just wonder how you got there. The presentation of this was really just devoid of cynicism, was genuine, touching, and one of the most whimsical games I saw all day, and it was just great. And so you had a couple of highlights from EA's thing, but overall they're just really bad, and even as much fun as Unravel and Mirror's Edge and Battlefront were, the rest of the press conference just sucked all that energy away. But moving on to Ubisoft, they had a pretty darn good press conference. Though a lot of their excitement kind of got less exciting as they went into more details, but let's get into that. So Ubisoft started with a big surprise. We had South Park: The Fractured Butthole. This is the game that came out of nowhere. When South Park Stick of Truth launched, I guess it was this year, it launched in February, it was met with huge critical praise. A lot of people say it's one of the funniest games ever, perfectly recapitulates, South Park episodes, the gameplay is fun, it had been working a long time. It was a game that we almost were in danger of losing when THQ shut down, but its assets were bought up by Ubisoft and the game came out. But, Matt and Trey Parker were like, look, this game was hell for us, and we're never going to make a video game again. Well, I guess they lied. They came on stage here at the start of Ubisoft's press conference. They were like, well, we learned a lot from this, and we had something to tell. And so, the South of Park, The Fractured Butthole, is basically, it looks to be very similar to Stick of Truth, but this time, instead of playing as their fantasy personas that we saw in episodes where they were turning the videotape, they play as their superhero personas, like the Coon and all those other crazy things. And so for fans of the show, I can't see why you wouldn't get this. I've been looking forward to playing Stick of Truth for a long time, but have kind of been waiting for it to be cheap. Maybe since this game is coming, they'll release some sort of version, or maybe let you download Stick of Truth on next-gen consoles, because currently it's just PS3 and 360. So that'd be nice, but that's exciting. And Matt and Trey have such a stage presence. They're just kind of funny and irreverent. I use that word, but it was a good way to start the show. And then Ubisoft surprised with a brand new IP, For Honor, which got me really excited at first because it had this fantasy vibe. They were showing different medieval knights versus barbarians versus samurai, and I really don't know what was going on. It looked like it had kind of Souls-like combat, but then, again, this is one of those things I was really excited. They had a new IP. It looked cool. But then the more I learned, the less I got excited about it. So it looks like it's just a competitive 4-player combat multiplayer online game. It looks cool. I'm glad that Ubisoft is taking risks and making new IPs and doing something interesting. But again, I'm not really in the market for tons of multiplayer online games. So it's something, again, to keep an eye on, but it didn't move to the top of my most anticipated list. But it's really cool and worth mentioning. And then they had this hilarious Just Dance demo. So it wouldn't be a Ubisoft press conference without talking Just Dance, because that thing sells megatons for them. That game is hugely popular. Not really. I won't go too much into this, but Jason Derulo's performance was hilarious. You should watch it online. Oh man, there's so many tweets I was just cracking up at home, like Ubisoft 2015, The Misadventures of Falsetto, and oh man, it's pretty funny though. They moved right then into The Division, which is a game. This is the third time The Division was seen at E3, so really they needed to show something big and important here, and they showed something interesting, but I'm not sure how interesting and important. They showed this co-op section where they go into the black dark zone, which looked cool. And one of the things they showed off is this idea of cutthroat co-op. This is the term I coined. I don't know if they use it, but Ubisoft, if you want it, just let me know. I can license it to you guys. So this cutthroat co-op. So you can go here into this dark zone, and it seems like there's tough enemies. Maybe there's other players. There's loot, but then you got to get extracted out of there. But one of the things you can do is you can turn on your co-op partners and try to get all the loot for yourself. So I mean, that's a clever kind of thing. It's fun and funny, but I can't see of any quicker way of losing all of your co-op partners than to turn on them in a challenging co-op mode like this Dark Zone seems to be. But I mean, The Division still looks so cool. I'm really excited. It looks like something like Destiny, but set in a post-apocalyptic New York. I'm really excited that New York is, creatively in terms of video game space, New York has been relatively untouched for over a decade, and for a good reason. There's certain events that transpired that made people maybe want to shy away from using New York for video games, especially since such bombastic and dramatic and violent things usually happen in video games. But it's exciting that something like that has happened. It's New York. It's exciting to be this big open world. I'm excited for the possibilities of what this game is. It looks like the best of a number of worlds. It looks beautiful. The third-person shooting looks great. Co-op experiences look great. It looks to combine a lot of elements of a lot of games. It looks like it could be a new Destiny, but just in a different setting. And I love Destiny for the month and a half at launch. I was 100% on board, but I lost interest with content. And so if I could get a month and a half out of the Division, I'd be more than happy. That'd be well worth my $60. So it was given a March 8th, 2016 release date. I'm excited. Another thing slots into an increasingly packed, quarter 1, 2016. Though I'm sure some of these things are going to get delayed out of that window to make way for some of the bigger releases. But yeah. Then they went to show on some Rainbow Six Siege gameplay. And again, this is kind of falling into the theme with what you guys might be noticing. It's super exciting. The gameplay looked great. Fully destructible, like completely fully destructible environments will make for some really interesting dynamics in multiplayer. And the different mode they showed. But again, it's one of these experiences that's predominantly online co-op, online competitive. It looks great. One of the things I wanted to point out was that Angela Bassett is playing this main character. And it's really cool that they're pulling in, again, this talent from Hollywood. Bassett, her performance just from the little snippet looked great. I'm really excited. And also, again, it's nice to see little instances like this with this leader of this elite squad of the Rainbow Squad, these elite, secret agents or special agents, is this black woman. That's really cool. I think games have had a lot of problem with the diversity, and it's cool seeing stuff like this where bit by bit we're working towards a better future. But now I really want to move on to PlayStation. Holy crap. So after the amazing Bethesda press event, and Microsoft really, really killing it with a very solid, strong, fast, confident release, I didn't know what Sony could do, honestly. I mean, for any of you who know me or have kind of followed me, I'm a fanboy might be a little bit too strong, but certainly I have been a devoted PlayStation gamer since the PlayStation 1 release. It's been my home console of choice. It's been my lead gaming platform of choice since I got the PS1 in 1998. So I didn't really know what to do, what they were going to do, because this fall, the release schedule for first-party exclusives or even any kind of exclusives looks extremely light. And we didn't know what was coming for them. But boy, did they hold the big guns for this show. The press conference started with The Last Guardian. Oh my god. I don't want to spike the audio, but that is a game years and years and years in the making. It's something I've been looking forward to forever. They showed it back, I don't know what, 2007, 2008? I can't even remember the first E3 they showed it. It's been nearly a decade since we've even seen The Last Guardian at a press event. And every year people predicted it, and every year we got disappointed. Rumors started leaking early that The Last Guardian was going to be at this press event, and it was. It opened the show. The gameplay demo looked beautiful. Fumito Ueda is a genius. Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are tremendous games. Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game of all time. It's so affecting and evocative and powerful and interesting and different and cool and fun. And seeing The Last Guardian as an opener for this press conference, already at that point, for me at least, Sony won, because this is a game I've been looking forward to forever. And it's coming out in 2016. It's unreal. But then it just kept going. They moved right then into Guerrilla Games' new IP. Again, these are the guys behind Killzone, which is, fun. I played Killzone Shadowfall, and that was good, but nothing certainly gripping. But their new game looks phenomenal. It's Horizon Zero Dawn. It's also coming out 2016. It's this. It looks to be this open world RPG where you're in a post-apocalyptic Earth, but it's way, way in the future. So basically, we've reverted back to these nomadic tribal people. And so you're exploring, but they have these third-person shooter mechanics, and the world is populated by these giant mechanical dinosaur things. And the vision of it is, looking at Horizon Zero Dawn is unlike anything I've seen. I got so excited. I just got goosebumps. I wanted to play this game. Everything about it looked cool. It looked like a combination of Skyrim and Killzone and Monster Hunter, with the way they were taking this big dinosaur, this dinosaur, exposing the weak points with this really cool bow and arrow, and gathering resources. And oh man, that is a game I could see myself losing a lot of hours to. It sucks that Killzone. I mean, I enjoy Killzone, but it really seems like this Guerrilla Games guys have had stuff they wanted to do, and Sony have been pushing for so long for Killzone to be like the Halo for PlayStation. It's pretty clear that Killzone is never going to be the Halo for PlayStation, or maybe it is now because less people care about Halo now. It's cool to see what the creative people over at Guerrilla Games have done with this new IP. It's coming soon. The snippet they showed looked like gameplay, or at least it was simulated gameplay. And it looked really smooth and fluid and solid and beautiful, and Then they showed off a couple other small snippets of games. They showed a new Hitman, which is cool. I never played them. Moving on. Street Fighter V. I'm so excited for this game. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this on a full episode of the podcast, the Impact Factor podcast. You can check here on the YouTube account to see more of that. As a big fighting game enthusiast, they revealed Birdie and Cammy, which are great characters. Birdie is especially a really interesting pick because he's a larger man, and it's great that every kind of body type and kind of person can have representation, even in a game like Street Fighter. And he's kind of a crazy choice, Who knows? Other than the most hardcore Street Fighter people, who knows anything about Birdie? But that's really exciting. They showed No Man's Sky again, and I think this was a smart display. Again, I really kind of would have preferred to see nothing from No Man's Sky because we've seen so much and hype has been built for so long that it's really hard to be more excited, especially without a release date. And we still didn't get a release date, but we did get some gameplay. I'm still excited. It looks like it's not necessarily going to be the most engaging game ever. It looks like the gameplay loop is going to be pretty standard. You go to a new star, you find a new planet, you explore it, you scan a couple things, maybe you shoot a couple things, you get back in your ship, you go explore a new thing. So maybe it's not the most interesting or exciting, but it looks like a game you can always pick up and play and just explore a little bit, because you're exploring planets that, even though there's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people playing this game, you're going to explore stars and planets that no other player has ever seen or will ever see during their time during No Man's Sky. And that idea alone to me is exciting enough and is ambitious enough that I really want to support Hello Games and give them my money and see what they have to offer. But they said it was coming soon. So, and the way he said soon, again, maybe I'm reading too much into Murray's statement here, but it seems like it might even have a 2015 release date, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe it's still 2016. I don't know. The game is massive, and for a small team like Hello Games to be making it is really impressive. And then, oh my god, so much. Dream by Media Molecule. They announced a new game. It's Dream. It looks crazy. I don't know what's happening in it. It was like a dream. The presentation of Dream was fleeting. You know, it was ephemeral and fleeting, but powerful and weird and cool, and made me wanted to see more. They're going to be at Paris Games Week, so I'm sure we'll talk about it more on the Impact Factor then. Firewatch is coming to PS4 as a console first. Firewatch looks great. It's Campo Santo, former Telltale guys, the guys who did Telltale's The Walking Dead. Looks cool. I'm really excited for it. Probably will be a day one purchase. But moving on to the crazy things. So they teased this a little bit. We saw a little bit of this World of Final Fantasy, which are these cute chibi characters, two siblings against the world, and had a lot of nods of classic Final Fantasy. It's going to be PS4 and Vita, so I'm actually kind of excited about that. I could always handle more RPGs on my Vita. But then that led right into this beautiful, crazy graphics. It's pretty clear right from the start that this was the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is something that people always talk about, how Square Enix is leaving so much money on the table because everyone wants a remake of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is one of the most beloved games of all time. They could make this money, make this game, and it's going to sell millions of copies. And this is the first time it's real. It's real. It's happening. The game looked great. I can't wait to explore Final Fantasy VII because really the graphics and the way the game plays is one of the reasons. Going back to Final Fantasy VII now that I'm older, it's a rough game. It's very early PS1 era. The polygonal characters look terrible. The translation was terrible. There's weird optimization problems. But this looks awesome. This is something. It broke my internet. My internet exploded when the Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced. It looked crazy. Oh, I'm so excited. Everyone's so excited. This is one of those things this is like a Half-Life 3. That and The Last Guardian, like Half-Life 3, things that people want to happen, but yeah, okay, that's going to happen. But then they went even further and announced that they're working together with the developers to make Shenmue 3 a reality, which is crazy. Shenmue 3, I feel like these are The Last Guardian and then Final Fantasy and then Shenmue 3, in likeliness of being a reality. But all three are true. The Kickstarter's up. Within the first 5 minutes, they had $20,000. I'm sure they're going to reach the $2 million goal. I can't even go into too much detail. I've never played Shenmue, but I know there's this rabid fandom. And it's really one of these first games that kind of bucked the trend of all these arcadey games or these very violent games when it first came out. It's look, you can have a game where you just play as a character and live a life and explore a world and just be human. And I'm excited that games like Shenmue have really paved the way for some of these experiences we see today. And I'm excited that I know it's going to get funded and it's going to come to PlayStation. I think it's important, I guess. The Last Guardian is obviously a PlayStation exclusive. Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming first to PlayStation 4, but still, that is a huge, huge snag by PlayStation 4. With a game like Final Fantasy VII, a remake, first to PS4, and PlayStation's already ahead in the console market, everyone's going to be buying it on their PlayStation. Oh my god. So, do I even need to tell you anymore? That press conference was great. But then they went on, they showed some cool Battlefront stuff, they showed some cool Disney Infinity stuff. PlayStation has a lot in the pipeline. They went to an Uncharted 4 demo. There's a little technical hiccup at first, but then the game ran smooth, plays smooth, looks great. It looks like more Uncharted. It's exactly what I want. I'm so excited to play some more Uncharted. It's been a long time since I played Uncharted 3. They have a drivable car, which is really cool. It's something we haven't really seen in the series for the first time. It looks great. I love Uncharted. I want more. If I have to say one thing negative about the PlayStation press conference, and this is a significant thing to say, was that everything that they talked about, all these exciting things, are 2016 at least, if not later, which is a bummer. It kind of leaves, this kind of rest of 2015 pretty, up to third parties to make a PlayStation 4 a compelling purchase right now, whereas Xbox One, if you want if you want to play Forza 6, or you want to play Rise of the Tomb Raider, or you want to play the Gears of War collection, or you want to play Halo 5, it's a compelling purchase this fall, and then there's backwards compatibility too, so I really wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft pulls ahead in some of these holiday months, because they just have so much of a case, and Sony and PlayStation is really relying on third-party games to pull them through the rest of 2015. I mean, they had the Call of Duty announcement at the PlayStation, so there's that exclusive partnership now with Activision, Call of Duty on the new, Treyarch's new Black Ops 3. They've got Star Wars Battlefront. Sony has an exclusive marketing deal with Star Wars Battlefront, and those games are obviously going to be huge. And I think, Sony maybe wisely made this decision because there's so much coming out this fall. I mean, with Star Wars Battlefront, Call of Duty, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain coming in September, and then obviously Fallout 4 coming in November. There's a ton of big games that people are going to buy. And so, who knows if this is the case, and Sony knew this was coming and decided not to try to push any games into 2015. But it is a little bit of a bummer, because all those games that I just said are also coming on to Xbox One. But really, E3 is about getting you excited about the future of games. And I think no press conference did it better, or really has ever done it better than Sony in 2015 here. They were so good. I'm so excited for all those titles. Oh, okay, I ran long. We're 35 minutes in. Thank you for listening. I have so much more thoughts. I live tweeted. I would direct you to my Twitter. That's at Alex Samoha, Alex S.A. Mocha, like the coffee. I have a stream of like 500 tweets a day if you want to pick through those. But just listening to this enough, you kind of get the vibe. So really check out a lot of those trailers for the stuff I talked about. Really, I myself need to rewatch the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. Really check out the game, the demo for Last Guardian, and so much more. I didn't even get to talk about some other stuff that looked exciting, like Lego Dimensions looked great. Like Batman with Wildstyle, with Gandalf talking to GLaDOS. That's ridiculous and looks cool. And then the new Gearbox game, Battleborn, looks great. I'm really excited to play that through with Justine. It looks... all of my fears were kind of assuaged from when Randy Pitchford demoed it. Anyway, there's so much to talk about. There's so much more. I'm going to be back for one more of these tomorrow after Tuesday. The announcements will be a little bit lighter. It's just Nintendo, Square Enix, and then the PC Gamer event. And so we'll be back tomorrow night. But thank you for tuning in for this. Again, if any of you guys are listening, please, 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 it would help so much if you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel. We put a lot of stuff out here. I've been streaming games on my Twitch and re-uploading the archives here. Every Friday we upload a new The Impact Factor podcast to my co-host Charles Fliss and I. That's soundcloud.com/The Impact Factor, or if you check out the link below, you can subscribe on iTunes, and rating us there would really help too. Or we post them as video forms here on this YouTube account. So that's the best way to keep up with that. Please, again, my name is Alex. I didn't say this in the beginning, but I'm a Ph.D. Candidate in biomedical sciences who's really loves to think, play, and write and talk about video games. It's really a passion, and really it's kind of where I first flexed some of the analytic muscles I use in my science career currently. So for all of my thoughts and more, check out my blog, theimpactfactor.blogspot.com. There's lots of stuff. E3 2015 is one for the record books, folks. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Until next time, make an impact.